Welcome to another class. In this one, we'll be dealing with nouns. Nouns together with verbs are probably the words that make up the core of our messages, and they are very numerous. So you want to find out more besides what I say about nouns, you might want to go to section 4.2, page 29 of your booklet to see a detailed discussion about nouns. To begin with, we're going to be dividing nouns into categories. But before we go into these details, we already worked on how to recognize nouns. They have some common endings, shown, for example. Besides those common endings, semantically speaking, nouns describe abstract entities, they describe names, they describe, more than describe, they name, they designate concrete objects, okay? Now, the distinction that we have over here on top, we have common nouns and we have proper nouns. Proper nouns are names of people or names for entities and objects, okay? So for example, the Radio Times, the New York Times, the República. Those are proper nouns, all right? Then we have common nouns, which are going to name all those other entities, objects, things that are not proper, okay? Now, within common nouns, we have the distinction between countable nouns, those that can be counted, 1, 2, 3 cows, and those that are uncountable. They cannot be counted because they represent substances, they represent abstract ideas, and so we cannot say what makes to milk, okay? That's not the right thing to say. Now, whenever it comes to number, we have distinction between singular and plural. So, uncountable nouns can be plural, but the fact that they are plural doesn't mean that they can be counted, okay? We have a plural form, and then an s. Then singular nouns, common countable nouns are by far from the most numerous in speech and in written form. Now, when it comes to, you get the idea between the distinction between singular and plural, right? Singular means one, plural means more than one. Then another distinction, we have indefinite and definite references. Indefinite and definite references make reference, sorry for being redundant, to indefinite reference, for example, makes reference to any noun which could be, sorry, that was my cat. An indefinite reference makes reference to any noun, okay? It could be any, the cow. I'm talking about any cow, no kind in particular. However, we are going to say the cow when we know which cow we're talking about, either because we have mentioned it before or because there's the only one on the grass, on the field, okay? Indefinite and plural, cows, no article, okay? So, cows like chewing grass. Definite plural, the cows, okay? We'll still have the article over here. We change the form to designate the plural form of cow. Then, uncountable indefinite, and now the cat is it. Uncountable indefinite, milk, all right? So in singular form, we don't even need the indefinite article because remember that the indefinite article makes reference to one cow, a cow. All right. So we cannot count the milk. So we're going to say just milk in singular indefinite form. Regards, this is common ending for emails, okay, as indefinite and plural. Why is it plural? Because it's got the S at the end. Regards, thanks, okay, those are uncountable and plural. Then definite singular is the milk, for example, okay? The milk is on the fridge, so we both know what milk we're talking about. That's probably the one that you bought in the supermarket yesterday. And uncountable and plural, the groceries, okay? So I definite and plural as well. I bought the I did the groceries, okay? No. When it comes to proper nouns, it's assumed that we have a definite reference. So if I say Sue, we both know which Sue we're talking about. There's no plural form for proper nouns in standard English, at least. Let's say you work at a school and in a course you have two girls named Sue. So you might say the Sues in my class. However, that is a non-standard variety and probably the grammatically correct way, the grammatical way to say so would be the two students named Sue. Now, in these two stretches of language, try to identify common countable nouns, common uncountable nouns, and if bar goes away, proper nouns. Okay? You might want to pause the video here and then go on. These were your answers. You were right. So we can count the books, we can count the copies, we can count the interviewers. Kant and Laplace are pretty easily recognized proper nouns. One characteristic of proper nouns, which I didn't mention, is the capitalization. All right, we will have initial capital in English, and probably the use of capitals in English is more extended than in other languages. Even it's more extended than in Spanish. So there is a note on use of capitals, but I don't remember the page now. It's right after the discussion on nouns, I think. Well, then gas is uncountable. All right, you cannot count one gas to gases. No, some nouns can be both countable and uncountable depending on the context. You might want to go to section 4.2.2 to find out some more about that. But let's take a look at the examples that we have here. I like coffee more than any other beverage. So coffees, please. It's obvious which is the countable and which is the uncountable version. Why? What do they designate? And probably the same happens with rooms. Our house has 5 rooms. Evidently, you're counting the rooms. And I made some room for this new book. You cannot count the word room in this case. So the use of the countable form is for separate things, for individual instances. The uncountable, however, has to do more with something viewed as a substance or a material or a phenomenon. All right, taste. Now, coffee in this case is the substance, the black drink. You cannot count that, but you can count the cup of coffee. In this case, 2 coffees. It's obviously making reference to to 2 cups of coffee, and this is something that you will probably hear at the restaurant. Then our house has 5 rooms. That's referring to all the different places in your house. Okay, and I make some room for these new books. Evidently, you're talking about not the places in your house, but to have a whole room devoted for books. That would be uh, like too much. But this is referring to the space. All right. Now let's move on to another distinction. That one of concrete and abstract. You probably remember all this from secondary school, high school, primary school. I don't know where you deal with that. But in section 4.2.1, page 31, you will find more a lengthy description of concrete and abstract nouns. Now, concrete nouns denote people, places, things which we can experience with our five senses. Okay, so we can either hear music, song. Those are concrete nouns because you can hear them. You can whatever you can taste, whatever you can see, whatever you can touch. Okay, it's gonna be concrete. Abstract nouns, well, would be the opposite. Okay, these nouns denote ideas, qualities, or states which can't be perceived with the senses, like, for example, hope, hatred. Okay, they cannot be perceived with the senses because they refer to abstraction. All right. Now, have a go to this one. Try to identify which of these nouns can be perceived with your senses and which cannot be perceived with your senses. You might want to pause the video here and then move on to check your answers. If these were your answers, you were right. If these weren't your answers, you were not right. We are going to practice a bit further in the forum, okay? And one final note, which is on package nouns. That is section 4.4 on page 33. There's a lot to say about package nouns, but I don't want you to focus on the details. I don't want you to focus on these four subcategories. What I would like you to know is that most of them, with the exception of some collective nouns, but collective nouns are pretty easy to recognize because they are pretty similar to the ones we use in Spanish. I don't know, for example, family, audience, crew, police, staff. Those are collective nouns, right? But most of them, except those, most of them in these four categories are used in conjunction with other nouns. And they are easily recognized because there is a knob between the package noun and the noun that they quantify, describe, cut up. All right? So collective nouns make reference to groups of people, groups of animals, groups of things. The other nouns, they cut up mass or substance nouns. Okay? Gas is a substance, a mass of gas, for example. A letter of, sorry, that would be probably quantifying because quantifying nouns are used to refer to quantities. Okay? And so numerals will be included in quantifying nouns sometimes if they're not determiners. And then specious nouns are followed by the off phrase, but rather than referring to a quantity or a number, they refer to a type. All right? If you would like to make a chart and write some common collective nouns, unit nouns, quantifying nouns, and specious nouns for you to remember them, recognize them when you see them, that would be a good idea. But you can rest assured that you won't be tested on distinction of package nouns, all right? As long as you can recognize any of these as a package noun, that would be more than enough. Now we're gonna stop the video here because then we need to go on with the discussion of nouns. There are many things to say. See you in a while.